Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am honestly so thrilled to have you here today because we're going to be looking at something that is just universally relevant, but also incredibly beautiful when you actually sit down and break it apart. Today we're diving into the anatomy of a beautiful relationship. We'll be drawing directly from a really heartwarming case study in our source material about two girls named Ria and Ananya to figure out exactly how a true connection is formed step by step. So let's get into it. But first, I want to throw this question right back at you. What makes a true friend? It's a concept we toss around all the time, right? But if you really had to pin it down, to define the exact actions that transform a casual acquaintance into a lifelong companion, what would they be? Just kind of keep that in the back of your mind as we unpack this story, because the answer is completely built on the everyday actions we're about to look at. Section 1, an unlikely connection. Okay, let's dive into this. Our story kicks off in a super familiar setting, a small town classroom, where two completely different paths happen to cross. So on one side, we have Ria. Now, the text tells us Ria is absolutely brilliant at her studies, but she's shy, she's quiet, and she usually sits all by herself. And then we have Ananya. She's the new girl, and her whole vibe is basically the exact opposite. She's cheerful, she's super friendly, so you literally have quiet isolation on one hand and this vibrant, outgoing energy right next to it. And then we get this moment. Anya notices Ria sitting all by herself, walks right over and asks with a smile, "Can I sit with you?" Just pause for a second and think about the sheer power of that one sentence. That incredibly simple question, asked with a genuine smile, was the absolute catalyst for the entire story. It's that initial, brave little spark of outreach that just completely shatters the wall of isolation. Section 2. Building the bond. See, what our source material shows us next is that friendship isn't just some magical, spontaneous occurrence, right? It's something you actively build. They deliberately nurtured this bond, day after day. They studied together, pooling their academic focus, they played together, creating joy, and eventually they reached this beautiful level of trust where they shared all their thoughts and feelings. But you know what really stands out here? Whenever Ria felt sad, Ananya would always, and I mean always, find a way to make her smile. It's that consistent, everyday effort to lift each other up that truly cements a friendship. Section 3. The true test. Now, we all know that every real relationship eventually hits a rough patch. A few months into their friendship, the tone shifts a bit. Ria fell ill and actually had to miss school for several days. I want you to think about a time when you felt really vulnerable or sick or just isolated, kind of like Ria did here. When you're suddenly pulled out of your normal routine, well, that's the exact moment you find out who actually steps up to bridge the gap. And what's really interesting here is how Ananya reacted. She didn't just fire off a quick get-well-soon text and call it a day. No, she created a highly proactive support system. Step 1, she prepared notes for Ria every single day. Step 2, she physically went out and visited Ria at her home. And step 3, she actively helped her keep up with her studies so she wouldn't fall behind. True friendship requires real, actionable effort during tough times, and Ananya honestly nailed it. Let's take a look at the timeline and see how all of this builds up. Visually zooming out, it starts with literally 1 minute. Just a simple question and a smile. That naturally expands into a few months of shared studying and playing. Then comes the real crucible, right? Several days of totally dedicated support during an illness. And the result of all those accumulated moments? Years of an unfading, lifelong bond. It's amazing proof of how tiny investments of time and care just compound into something permanent. Section 4, a lasting legacy. So as the years passed and both girls eventually finished their education, the source text highlights that their connection literally never faded. In fact, people in their town admired them so much that they started using this phrase, "True friendship is just like the friendship between Ria and Ananya." I mean, wow. Their specific names literally became the absolute gold standard for what a successful relationship looks like in their community. And that brings us right to the core moral of the story today, exactly as Ria realized it when she was sick. So the crucial point is this. A true friend is someone who stands by your side and stays with you through both happy and difficult times. It's not just the fun stuff. It's that perfect, unwavering balance of sharing in the everyday joy and then providing steadfast, roll-up-your-sleeve support when things get hard. This source material wraps up with this wonderfully heartwarming sentiment, and it brings a really nice sense of closure to our explainer today. Friendship is one of the most beautiful relationships in the world. And honestly, when you break it all down, from that incredibly courageous first hello to the loyal support during a tough illness, you really start to see exactly why that statement rings so true. So, as we wrap things up, I want to leave you with a final thought. A bit of a challenge, actually. Looking at everything we've gone through today, how can you be an Anya to someone else today? Who in your life right now might be sitting alone or maybe facing a difficult hurdle who could really use a simple smile, a shared note, or just someone coming up and asking, "Hey, can I sit with you?" Take a minute to think about how you can create those little moments of connection in your own world. Thank you guys so much for joining me to explore this, and definitely keep looking for those opportunities to connect. Catch you next time.